Hey yo, welcome to the Godcast.
I hope y'all are buckled up, because things are about to get weird.
I don't understand why you chose me.
You want to change the world, son. So do I.
Where are we at in terms of history on the timeline? Where are we exactly? I'm just trying to uncover the truth and bring forth what I can see as the truth. The Bible seemed to be predicting more things than any other conspiracy theory type information, Look, one thing's for certain, that there is so much power in the name of Jesus Christ. That I know for sure.
Welcome to Godcast.
Welcome to Godcast.
The Goodness Over Darkness.
The Goodness Over Darkness podcast.
Here is your host.
Here's your host,
Emmanuel
Kingman.
Emmanuel Kingman.
Welcome to the light.
Welcome to the light.
Welcome to the light.
It's showtime. Que paso, amigos? What's going on,
Where'd that come from? Dinner. He just spit dinner out.
Oh, it just came out. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Emmanuel Kingman, and welcome to Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness
You meant to
podcast.
say I'm with me today.
No, I did not. And with me today is the beautiful Senorita Mimi.
You must have really liked dinner. Hi, everybody.
Mimi does not allow me to do one skit without laughing. I can't do anything with this woman next to me without her making me laugh.
I like when you make me laugh because usually I need it to get the nerves out. I need to laugh.
Mimi's on camera again, and this time
Also need to laugh for that. The nerves.
And this one was for somebody she didn't know for the first time. It was someone she didn't know, and it helped our special guest Elias. It helped him show himself too. He was
a very
not
private person, and
Yes.
he's very himself. I don't want to say leave me alone person, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I feel that.
He
I
was.
just helped make him a little more comfortable by being on camera with him.
Yes.
We could both be nervous.
Yeah, but neither of you were nervous. It was a great conversation. I mean, we were all over the place. We hit so many different topics. So
Got
Elias,
something in your eye?
yeah,
Be
tears
part
of laughter.
The right eye club.
Yeah. So Elias, the way we met was he was a frequent commenter on my shows on YouTube, and he would bring some biblical knowledge to the table, talking the way that he talked. I didn't think he was only 25 years old. The way that he understands the Bible to the degree he does. And then when we talked, I mean, he has a great grasp on occult knowledge as well. He knows a lot of different stuff. He's really studied in all this stuff.
Yeah, but what I don't like that it was all of his information and the way he came to occultism was all online. It was all through the black box. It was all through, your screen. It was, he worshipped something that he didn't even see in person, like ever.
Yeah, he was a Luciferian.
That's a little
openly he worshipped Lucifer, he told us.
strange.
But I mean, that's how it happens a lot.
That's what I mean. Like that's how they get you. Like,
yeah,
it's just strange. And yeah.
Well, he has come to the truth of Jesus Christ as God, and has seen the error in his ways. So he's a very interesting guy. He went from Christianity to Luciferianism to now back to Christ, but not necessarily to Christianity, but to Jesus Christ. Super interesting guy. He had a lot of interesting things going on in different stories to tell us. Just a lot of very interesting stuff. So he had this presentation that he wanted to bring to me that was just to talk about different occult things, anime, different card games, different tarot, different symbolism. I mean, we got into Trump being in the plus ultra which, oh man, as soon as he said that to me, I just got this feeling of
You
the
seemed
great
deflated.
deception.
You were like, ah,
Yeah, it's true. It's the great deception.
man.
He's been going outside of this place, outside of time and space. They've trained him to do it, and he's been going outside of time and space. And it's the great deception. He's going to present. I don't know what exactly is going to happen, but I think he's going to get rid of the rest of the cabal, and he's going to present himself as some great guy, and then he's going to be the quote unquote antichrist, that type of figure. So as soon as our guest told us what plus ultra was, it just hit me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what's going to happen.
Wonder how that MK Ultra relates to Plus Ultra.
Yeah, well, who knows?
Hmm.
That's I'm tired of all their nonsense anyway. It's all right. Anyway, it's just it's heavy. It's reminders of things that I've been through, things that I've spoken to people about that they've been through. It's a lot of
All the
heavy
deceptions.
a lot of heavy stuff that
and
goes
all
on
the
with all this
BS.
stuff. Yeah. But I mean, so we got into at the end, was it after he told us about the playing cards you could use them as tarot decks? This was after that we stopped the recording. He told us that, and that the jokers have an 808 on there, and that's how you can tell it's a cult. It's because 808 is an apparent occult number, and it's also a frequency. The 808,
She's saying,
Kanye
like,
talks about the 808 beats are what gets into your sacral chakra and your root chakra.
I know 808 is in some other song too.
That's, well,
It's
they
in
always
some
talk
song.
about it because that's the hard-hitting bass, the 808s.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so apparently it's an occult thing as well as the frequency.
So all cards are
occult.
ruined.
Yeah, card games are
Ruined.
occult. Yeah. Yeah, there's all
What are you gonna
sorts.
ruin for me next?
Yeah. Oh, well, who knows? Everything is of Satan, so I mean, not
I'm just
everything
gonna
is,
sit and
but
twiddle my thumbs for the rest of my time here.
yeah. Team Jesus, baby. You once you grow your discernment, then you figure out the spaces in between the evil stuff. I've done that with a lot of my stuff. I've transferred over my music, in one
Right.
instance, my clothing in another instance, all of my stuff. There is an equivalent that you
Find
can
the
find.
alternative.
Right. You can
Yeah.
find the in between stuff that is what we're supposed to be doing. It's more difficult, but you can do it.
It's like me and my keto relationship. I'm finding the things in between.
You have to have this. You have to have discernment to be able to figure it out. You have to grow it. That's all.
Yeah.
And man, this conversation had so many synchronicities. I mean, it was just
A zillion.
synchronicity after synchronicity. I've never had this many synchronicities in one interview before. I mean, and it was all things that there's no way he could have known, because we did 2 interviews in the same day, and almost like every talking point that we had in the first one was he brought up in the second one. So unless the NSA who's listening in sent him a file and he had a chance to listen to it, there's no way that he knew about this. So maybe it was the CIA or FBI, whatever, whoever's listening. It doesn't necessarily mean that the NSA, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about, that it would have to be something that ridiculous in order for that to happen. So that's how you can tell what a real synchronicity is, when things like that happen, that there's no possible way he could have prepared his presentation about things that were talked about just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he sent me the file earlier too. I could have brought it up on mine. So this was before the conversation with Malcolm that he sent me the file. So, and I didn't look at it either. I was just like, okay, we'll just handle it on the show. And then it worked out for us. So, that's synchronicities. It's just craziness.
I like talking about the Mandela effects of the Bible. That I want to look a little more into.
Yeah, the lion with the lion laying with the lamb is no more. It says the wolf. What the wolf sat with?
I'm not sure.
It's the wolf with the lamb now, not the
I want to
lion.
look more into those. And I'm sure there's others than the two examples that were given, but I'd like to look into that.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Is there anything else you want to get into in the
That is
intro?
it, senor.
Okay. See, even when I try, branching out a little bit, try to speak in Spanish a little bit. Yeah, Mimi has to come in and make fun of me, make me go back to my shell.
I'll come tomorrow and speak Italian.
Yeah. Do you know how to speak Italian?
I've taken 88 days of Italian.
You know how to say
so
what up?
You
know how to say what up? And
nope.
Say Duolingo didn't teach me that. All the Mexicans I delivered to teach me that. Que paso, amigo?
Possessives right now. I just know like food,
You
colors,
are possessive right now.
I'm
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love you so much.
You're not kidding, but that's okay.
Well, if the shoe fits, but I love you. That's
I
what
did get
matters.
new shoes today, so
and I ordered a new pair of hiking boots. So
he's one-upping me. Mine are in my cart.
Well, mine are on the way.
Yours will be here tomorrow morning.
No, I
That
don't
was
think
a nice
so.
fancy picture from Amazon. Like, here they are.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so everybody, that'll do it. Our guest does not want you to find him anywhere. Just maybe in the comment section you can find
Or
him.
right
maybe.
here.
Yep. Of Godcast of Goodness Over Darkness podcast. Well, it's actually on YouTube. It's Goodness Over Darkness. And you guys want to definitely subscribe to that and hit the notification bell, because I do a live show every other Friday with Andy Rouse from the Deep Share. That's called Worship in the Storm. We missed a Friday because of the holiday, Thanksgiving. We didn't do. So we'll be back in full effect soon here, though. And also, I do live roundtables, one a month, typically. But by the time you hear this episode, both will already be done. That I'll have both the live roundtables already done. So you'll want to subscribe to make sure that you get in on the action going on over there. Make sure you stay tuned at the end of the episode for a preview of the next episode. And without further ado, here is Elias. Hello, everybody. On today's episode, I have on a guest who is trying to become a Bible scholar. He is an esoteric historian and an aspiring artist. He's a fan of the show and is always bringing the heat in the YouTube comments. Everybody welcome Elias to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Elias. How are you, my friend?
Again, nervous to be here, but happy to set the record straight, so to speak.
Okay, well, I am glad you are here. You do a lot of commenting on YouTube, and I love it because you add in so much knowledge that I was unaware of, and it adds on to the conversations that I'm having with people. It's like an extension of the conversation. So I really appreciate all your interaction with the show.
Yeah, and I know a little bit how the algorithm works, so I know it benefits for comments.
Right.
But I do have, like, as I'm listening, just, I would call them synchronous spurts or inspiration, you would say. Just things come to me,
Yeah, very cool. So how did you find my show?
So it was when Ryan Zem went on.
Okay.
Oh, I love Ryan.
So you already know of Ryan? Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's
I hope he's doing
basically
well.
the starting. Oh, me too. I'm really worried about him.
I was thinking
But
of
he did
him
update a
earlier
little bit ago.
too.
He did update not too long ago, but it
Yeah,
was just like a YouTube comment.
Okay, I saw two different little videos. When he ran into somebody in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it like disappeared.
Oh, the video disappeared?
No, the guy disappears at the end. He just vanishes.
Oh yeah, he was like on top of a train or something. It was weird.
Yeah, just in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere. He like
Wow.
went through some barbed wire fences.
Hmm. Yeah, that was super weird. So I hope Ryan's doing well. If anyone listening is unaware of what we're talking about, you can listen to episodes 50 and 52. I had Ryan Zem on back to back like that because he was going north. He's trying to make it to the North Pole, and he is trying to do a 10-day straight of nothing but praying. That is the only thing he wants to do is pray and sleep for 10 straight days. He's roughing it, as you would say, in the woods. Like literally, he has no electronic devices with him. He's not doing anything. Well, I guess he has some kind of camera some way, but he's not in communication with anybody. He doesn't have a cell phone. So we wish Ryan the best, and you guys will definitely love his episodes. If you're here now and you haven't heard it, I suggest you really go listen to it.
It never hurts to send a prayer his way. I know I have
Yes.
been.
Yes, sir. So, okay. So, Elias, so you are a very interesting guy. You have a lot of knowledge of the Bible, and you also come from a background where you have some occult knowledge. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. When I was younger, still trying to find myself, my faith, I had left Christianity and actually became a Luciferian, like
Okay.
actual worship Luciferian, but I didn't take a blood oath. That was part of it. I refused to do that without evidence first, thankfully. I'm very thankful about that now.
Do you mind telling us how old you are?
I'm 25 now. That will come in later. So yeah, I don't mind telling you.
All right. So that's a very young age to be going from one Christianity to Luciferianism to now
Well,
you are back into wanting to become a Bible scholar. So that's very interesting.
yes. I found the darkness, so to speak.
And you ran from it, I see.
Heck yeah.
So how did all that happen?
Not too far, I guess, if I'm still researching and stuff, right?
Well, I think know thy enemy.
You have to know your
comes to
enemy.
mind.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's my whole motto with this. As long as I
Okay.
don't practice, I think I'm good.
Okay, so you leave the Christian church. Let's get into that for a second. Why did you leave the Christian church? What happened? What made you question the Christian church?
So my mom kind of was a wild child. She converted to Christianity well, she was a Christian when she was a kid, but converted again after I was born, right? And I think I told you a little bit in email about she saw a demon at one time.
Okay.
We were sleeping and she woke me up in the middle of the night and said she saw a demon in the mirror, which we'll get into the mirrors later. And she ran me across the street to my uncle's, her, I guess her uncle, my great uncle or something like that. But his house, where they have like a little outside cathedral. I don't know if you know any Mexican heritage people, but they have sometimes, or Spaniards, sorry, an outside cathedral. It's like a small prayer space. It's just for candles and like an altar.
Okay.
But I don't remember much after that because I was asleep when she woke me up, right? But for a week after that, she had me sit in prayer stance, knees, like I'm down praying while I was trying to sleep, which is very uncomfortable.
Wow.
So whatever she saw scared her pretty bad.
So how did you end up leaving the Christian church?
Oh,
then?
sorry.
No worries.
So after she converted to the Christian faith, she went to Roman Catholicism.
Okay.
And I'm sure you know a lot of the stuff that goes on in the Roman churches at the higher levels. So I saw that as a kid and I was like, man, what is this God, right? So I was kind of an edgy teenager. And that's when I started looking into more occult stuff, right? Because I wanted to know the truth of this world reality, as it were.
Okay, so as a teenager, that's interesting. It took me to become like 25 25, 26, 27 to start really questioning things. I mean, as a teenager, I left God, I rebelled against God in the same way, but I didn't turn to the occult. I was just like, I was more of a materialist, if you will, just
Yeah.
whatever I could see in front of me that was real.
Well, to start off, it was like spirit science and stuff, if you know what that is.
Okay, it's like alchemy a little bit.
Kind of. I do think he's kind of a theosophist now. He follows like Thoth in them, so I guess it would be Hermetic.
Who, the guy on YouTube?
Positive. Yeah, the spirit science YouTuber.
Oh yeah, I actually talked about him in the last episode. He's actually I'm pretty sure that's the guy that he went from New Age to being saved by Jesus Christ.
That's good.
Maybe
I
I'm
heard
wrong
that part
about
of
that.
it. I hope he has, because he was.
What's his name?
There. I don't know. I don't think he ever shared it.
Someone told me that the guy that I'm talking about, he has a famous testimony. He was high up in the New Age, and then he went to and was saved by Jesus Christ. And someone told me that he was the one that ran the spirit science page. I forget his name off the top of my head, but maybe I'm wrong.
It would make sense, like from what I know, because I've seen like seeked out testimony, people that have converted as well, people that were higher up than me. Obviously, I was barely even an initiate,
Right.
I was just aware of some of the histories that they believe in, basically, and like some of the practices. It wasn't anything too big. It was mostly meditation at my point,
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you
get anything good otherwise?
Right. Okay. So how do you get into the occult? Was there some kind of group that you join, or was this just, how did this
Did
all
somebody come to
happen?
you, or did you go to somebody?
So we're gonna get into 4chan now.
Okay.
There's an X board on 4chan, the paranormal board. When I was a kid, that was my hangout, was the X board on 4chan for the scary stories.
Okay.
But from there, it just became like an interest in myths and like, I don't know, maybe psychic powers are real, better try it out kind of thing.
Okay.
From there, it was like the Tibetan Buddhists had tulpas, right? I don't know if you've heard of that concept before, but they're like thought forms, basically fragmented mind altars. But they're like servitors you can program, essentially. So that's where I went with it. I was going to try and make one of those, quote unquote. And from there, it got into like researching more of the other stuff. But for a while, I stopped because I didn't believe in any of it, right?
Okay.
Like, I hadn't seen anything to say otherwise. And in my head, I was thinking like, well, maybe I shouldn't, because what if? Just in case, what if? So that's when I started like going back into just video games more, just living a normal dude life.
Right. So when you're in the occult, is there a group that you're going to learn from, like a physical place that you're going to, or is this all just
No.
Okay, all
I
over the
never went
internet?
like that. Because the only people that I've ever noticed in real life that were into the cult were always weirdos and like super creepy,
Okay.
So I never really went anywhere in real life.
Okay, so you said you were a Luciferian, so
it's
you
all online.
Yeah. So you were worshiping Lucifer. You were paying homage to Lucifer as God?
Yeah. I would even say like, oh, hail Satan,
Okay. So was this done as like a rebellious type of thing?
I would say so. I didn't think so at the time, but I would say it was just from one extreme to another, which actually goes into a myth that I'll bring up. It's the myth version of Saint Christopher, which if you don't know, there's two of them. It's the first one, he starts off as a giant. The second one would be a cynocephaly, which is a dog man. But he goes from
I never heard of the giant one.
The doppelganger.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier.
It was I'll tell the giant version of the myth then. But the giant deems to follow the strongest person in the land, so he follows the king, and he sees the king make the sign of the cross at the mention of the devil, So he starts to worship the devil. And then while following the devil, he sees the devil turn away from a cross at the side of the road. So he begins to follow Jesus. He seeks out a priest to become baptized. And the priest tells him what he can do to serve God is to go to a river and help people across that get stuck in the high tides.
Mm-hmm.
And after doing that for years, eventually one small child comes in. And as he's trying to help him across the river, the child gets heavier and heavier before baptizing him in the river. And shortly before that, he says, "Child, why are you so heavy? It is because it's like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my back." And the child responds, "You are, for I am the Lord thy God. And by doing this work, you have helped me." I'm paraphrasing, but
Right.
yeah,
I had heard that, and I heard that
yeah,
when he was baptized, when because the child was so heavy that him in his dog head form, he was baptized, and then he came up as a human. That's how I heard the story. So
yeah.
yeah, I didn't hear of just a giant. I heard of a giant dog-headed being that they.
I heard the dog one after hearing the giant one, so it could be both. I'm not
Okay.
an expert, like I said. I'm aspiring in a lot of these.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So I forget how we got into that story.
Yeah,
But
my
You
mind
were
is
asking him how he
goes
got
straight.
into occultism and how he
well,
got there.
oh, I think yeah, I was asking you about Lucifer. So all right. So now you get past the Luciferian stage. Does something happen to you that scares that out of you and makes you turn back to God? What occurred?
Yeah, all right. So there's two. The thing that initially made me scared me enough to get out of it. I was meditating, and I think I reached the level brainwave where you start to become one. I don't know
Okay.
how to describe it, but I felt a shift in my brain, like it was just time stopped.
I think you might have your microphone covered up a little bit or something. It just
Sorry.
all right, yeah, that's better.
But it kind of felt like time stopped just for a second, and it scared me so much that I just stopped. Right, I woke myself up from my paralysis, because to get into that deep of a meditation, you had to put yourself in sleep paralysis manually while you're still awake.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't done it ever since, because it just freaked me out. And then
You
ever
haven't
since then, I slept with the light on.
you haven't meditated since?
No, I do meditate now. I just
Okay.
don't reach that level of
Yeah,
meditation.
you have to go deep. I understand what you're talking about because I've gone that deep. I didn't actively know what I was doing at the time, but I put myself in a trance, and for
Yeah,
like
trance. That's what I was doing. Trance state.
yeah, like 3-4 hours at a time, and I'm not here, but I'm still aware. But it's hard to say. But I completely have been to that stage many times where you're talking about. It is when you're there, it is overwhelming because it is like, whoa,
Yeah.
I was reaching these stages without drugs or anything. And it's actually what drove me into meditating more, was because I was having so much fun doing it. And then, like you said, it becomes overwhelming and it scares you in a deep way. So what was the next occurrence that happened?
So that's when I went the first time. I went and started playing video games and everything. Flash forward to I'm 24 now, right? I just picked up Ryan Zem's videos. Yeah. First I watched the history of the flat Earth, I think, by
Okay.
Ewaran on. Pretty interesting, I thought. I was like, but there's no way, right? And then I watched Altian Child's video, the 5-hour one.
Right.
And then I was like freaking out, because at this point in time, I was actually into the stock market a lot.
Okay.
So I knew what is coming in that sector, which is not good. I don't want to get too far into it, but changes are coming. I'll just be ready for that.
Okay.
So after I heard about Altian Child's, the X Factor winner, his testimony, I started like whispering to myself, like, please Jesus, save me from this hellish world that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
and then just all at once, it just came to me. You know,
Wow.
I understood, and then from then, I read a little bit of Gnostic scripture as well, which I won't get too far into. I do think a lot of Gnostic scripture is actually heresy, like what they used to say with the who did it. There's one famous, I think he's a Catholic, that wrote against heresies, which is against the Gnostic scriptures and all them.
Okay.
But from there, I just was like, man, there's so much confusion. I'm just going to read my Bible, you know? I'm just going to read it myself. I'm going to figure it out. I don't want to hear it from other people. I want to hear it from the scripture. And from there, there's like even more scary stuff. I don't know if you've heard of the Mandela Bible changes.
No, I have not.
No, I'm interested to hear this.
So it's basically targeted Mandela effects for the Bible. Certain Bible passages change wording, gain more modern wording, or in the case of, forgive me if I get it wrong, I think it's Isaiah 6:11, but it's the lion and the lamb.
Right? Oh, I have heard this one.
The one that got me though was the Lord's Prayer.
Wait, so let's just finish that the lion with the lamb. It's now the wolf with the lamb, correct?
Yeah, the wolf shall dwell with the lamb,
right.
Not shall lie down like the lion who is pacified, right? Shall dwell.
I have heard about that one. That's super interesting.
But the Lord's Prayer one is when it says debts and debtors. Originally it would say trespasses and trespassers, right? Forgive us our trespasses, we forgive those who trespass against us. And I have this Bible here, which is my original Bible from when I was a small child. It's a KJV, but it originally had that line because that's what I learned from, right? But now it says debts and debtors in its place. And that freaked me out. So I went and started researching it.
So what universe did we wake up in? Is Satan the one behind the Mandela effects, you know, trying to confuse us?
I think so, personally. And we'll get into that here. I got my Bible. Let me flip over my camera. I don't know how to do it quick.
Okay.
So you remember, I don't want to get you demonetized, the plane event, right? Where America changed forever, quote unquote.
Yeah, 9/11.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
trying to not
Revelation,
get you dinged.
Yeah, Revelation 9:11. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon. In Greek, he's called Apollyon, which I think it's Apollyon. I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty hazy with my coin pronunciation.
Okay.
But if you look, you can look this up. What's going up in place of the Twin Towers is the One World Trade Center.
Right.
What that is them saying who rules us and then symbolizing that he now owns all the governments of the world, essentially.
Okay.
Because the crumbling of Joan and Joachim, or Boaz and Joachim, I'm going to say, the two pillars of Hercules, quote unquote, are Masonic symbols.
Okay. Okay, very interesting. I can build off of that a little bit. Of Revelation 11:9 in the book of Revelation is actually the destroying of Babylon, of the
I actually think I
tower.
noticed that when I was trying to research.
Yeah, the mirror effect, right? From
yep.
That went from 1 to 2, and then 9/11 made it go from 2 to 1. The mirror effect, and also what you were saying, that verse of Abaddon, Abaddon, you know, Mr. Trump, Abaddon, or
we'll get into him too. I have some information about him as well.
And Apollyon, Apollo, is also a name that he goes by. So very interesting stuff.
Him and Odin are the ones that I've got a bone to pick with in this one.
Yeah, well, and Ryan Zem has that great breakdown on George Washington being Apollo in America, because he's in the Capitol building. He is depicted as Apollo on the ceiling, and so
I did not know that, but that definitely makes sense to me, knowing what I know.
yeah, George Washington is their god.
Yeah, basically. I think the term that you were using was avatar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the term I learned for it, at least.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. So you're here today. You have a bunch of stuff to present to us. We were talking beforehand. You have some files you want to share. You have a lot of visual aid for what you want to present. So why don't we get into it? Go ahead, start where you want. And if I have any questions, I'll just jump in. Otherwise, the floor is yours.
All right. I don't think I'm going to get into everything, but I'll start.
Okay.
All right. So the first thing I think I had in the breakdown was the divine name, right? You have people that try to get you to say the divine name for God, quote unquote, which I don't believe in personally. I have a book here. It is Kabbalah Secrets Christians. I don't think you can read it. Let me flip it over.
Okay.
Oh, you had it.
That's all right. He can flip it if it's probably
There we
easier
go.
for him to see. There you go.
Which is a study
in-depth
of a book
study of the
called,
kosher pig and the gods of Jewish mysticism.
but the book is called Return of the Kosher Pig by Rabbi Itzhak Shapir, I'm pretty sure. So he's a Jewish rabbi. Not to say anything bad about them. But he says in his book that Metatron and there it is. So Metatron and Yeshua are the same person. And that comes from page 242 and 244.
Upside down.
Sorry, it's hard to read. I know.
Yeah, no worries. So this is from a Jewish rabbi saying that Metatron and Yeshua are the same person?
Correct. It's I don't know exactly everything he does. I'm bringing this knowledge to you, not secondhand, but I did a little bit of digging, but mostly secondhand. A lot of this is, I call it ephemera. It would be information that's fleeting, like what do they call it? Anecdotal evidence, quote unquote. Because a lot of this, as you dig into it, you learn is hidden on purpose. Sorry, I'm gonna flip it back around.
Okay.
Is hidden on purpose. Now, whether you believe in any kind of magic or anything like that, I know I have started to believe from the things that I've seen ever since I started researching this recently.
Oh, it's definitely real.
Yeah, I definitely think so too.
I mean, I transmute energies all the time for people. I know there some secrets that they have just by closing my eyes and breathing, and somehow I know it. It's magic is definitely a very real thing.
Yeah, and then I'm not gonna get too far into the book there, but the reason it's important is in magic, a name is both a summation of a person, right? It's a description of you at your base, but that's why God changes the names of people when he changes who they are, to change their designation. This also comes into play with Marduk, which is one of the gods with 50 names, which is I think similar to Hercules myth, but I don't know.
Marduk's allegedly the strongest of the gods, quote unquote, lowercase g.
Exactly, lowercase g. But and then it's also an address, right? When you're casting a spell on someone, like a witch spell, you generally need a name and like a face to put it to.
Yes.
So
yes, this is big with remote viewing as well. This is something where I myself can connect with anyone as long as I either know what they look like or know their name. If I have one or the other, I can connect with them no matter if I'm looking at them, if they're on the other side of the world, none of that matters, just as long as I know their name and face. So I will verify that is 100% correct.
And then by changing the name, they're changing the address. So you're addressing Metatron instead of Jesus, for one. And second, this needs a little verification because I couldn't actually pronounce it to remember it. But Rabbi Itzhak Shapir also says that Yeshua is, when it's shortened to Yeshu, is a Yiddish slur that means may his name be blotted out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they really do not like Jesus. And then in Jewish mysticism or Kabbalah, losing a letter in a name as well, or changing a name, is considered big slander, you know, like heck you kind of stuff.
Okay.
Hence why I get a little defensive when I see people saying the wrong name.
Okay, so what name do you like to use?
So it says in the Septuagint, it's Jesus. It's kind of pronounced a little differently, but
Right.
it's still Jesus, you know.
Right,
So that's usually what I call
right.
it.
It's like Jesus or something to that effect. In the Greek.
I don't like Zeus very much either, but I'll get into that as well.
Right. It's not like a Z, it's like a carrying a C carrying the Z almost. It's
definitely
Zeus.
Definitely based his name off of it to trick us, I think.
Ah, okay. All right, that's interesting. So yeah, so go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. So that was my first thing. I forget. Do you remember the prompts I gave you? The 4 prompts.
I'm not sure. I've pulled up the email.
Sorry about that.
No, you worry. No worries at all. Let's see.
I think it was the false name and Gnosticism. Getting into a little bit about why I stopped with Gnosticism as well. A lot of the translators for Gnosticism, like the literature for it, promote that name as well. Hence my apprehension of reading it, because when you get into Gnostic literature, it, like, I would say, changes your perception of reality in a weird way. So it's very dangerous, I would say, to be using the wrong name and also reading that kind of stuff.
Okay, so to use the name of Jesus is what you've determined is the safe name to use?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so I pulled up your email here, and the 4 topics: the sacred name, deception, and Gnosticism. Then we have Alice in Chains. Then the 3rd, impact and media, and the 4th one is inspiration and the study of memetics.
Memetics. All right, got it. Okay, I'm more centered now. So the majority of what I want to talk about is, do you know predictive programming?
Yes.
So I think it goes a little bit further than just predictive programming. I definitely think it's like them having conversations in plain sight, right? Trying to tell each other what they're doing. Because if you think about it,
instead of like calling or texting and having a trail. Yeah, I always thought
that too. If it was a big release, it would be international, and it would be an easy way to get it into borders would be through a big international release.
Yeah,
and there you go. I've been connecting on it too.
This is how we see in movies, spy movies, the CIA talks to each other. Someone will pick up a newspaper.
Of spy movies, do you know what John D liked to call himself?
He was like the James Bond, essentially, wasn't he?
He liked to call himself 007.
Yeah, there you go, 007. Yeah, I know something like that. Yeah,
I think that is for real. I think that is what they do, and you know, magazine covers, you know, weird things. I do think
they'll pick up a certain article by a certain writer, and then a certain phrase will mean a certain thing.
I've had someone in my family tell me that they use magazine covers and certain articles to pass information.
Wow.
And you just have to be in the know to know where to look.
Okay, so you got a book of Necronomicon right there.
The Necronomicon. So this is Simon's Necronomicon. It's by a man named Simon. I don't have his other book here, but I have like the history of how he got it and stuff, right?
Okay.
It's in a book called Dead Names. But essentially, in the first part of it, he says like a lot of Lovecraft's writing is code, not code, but like different names for deities, but it's stuff that could be possible because Lovecraft's grandfather was a Mason, and like a big deep Mason, right? His name is Lovecraft, like they love the craft. So it's theorized that Lovecraft, seeing all the stuff his grandfather was doing at a young age, learned to hate it, right? Hence his writings.
Okay.
But I think in his other book, he also says that Lovecraft, as well as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of Sherlock Holmes fame, were both in the Golden Dawn, which is one of the many, many secret societies. But that specifically was in America and Europe, was the Golden Dawn.
Okay.
From what I know. I'm obviously not initiated in any secret societies because I can't do that.
Yeah, and then the
Oh,
Golden
sorry.
Dawn birthed the OTO, correct? Or maybe it's the other way around?
It was Aleister Crowley. So Aleister Crowley moved through the Golden Dawn.
Right.
And then
I had a
after,
dream about him last night. Oh,
yeah, I don't like him either.
forgot to tell you that. Ugh.
He comes into play later with the Beatles, by the way.
Yeah. Write that down and tell me later.
But he started OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, and something A. I don't know how to, it's like a tri-dot thing. And I don't remember exactly what that means. I try not to dwell too much on Aleister Crowley, you know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you're digging into this stuff, he appears literally everywhere.
I got the whole
Yeah.
heebie-jeebies.
Well, you got Uncle Fester in the Addams Family. Is that's him. You know, that's what he looks like.
But essentially, through my studies, I've been noticing stuff in games. Like you'll notice the name of this card. Sorry, I don't know if it's gonna load. Or it's Re-Earth New World Fairy Tale, right? And then I'll show you the other side of the card in my my files here. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because I have like a darkened backside on it. It's a dumb sleeve. But the other side, it's called the Book of Light, right? And what you call, or what being saved is in Christianity is called being written in the Book of Life, right?
Okay.
That'll come into play later, which I think my overall theory, I'll say it now, is that we're in a story currently being written, right?
Okay.
And it's called the Book of Life. So if your name, you don't have a name given to you by God in the Book of Life, you're not saved, right?
Okay.
So this card, the reason I have the front page too, you'll see this character in the front, this blonde-haired girl, it's supposed to be Alice, like Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
This whole card game uses fairy tale characters and like myth stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like my awakening because I was super into this card game forever. And
What's the card game called?
Force of Will.
Okay.
It was very briefly in America, but I think they still produce it, but it's like no one really plays it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But you'll see Alice is she's closing one eye. So she's got her left eye open and she's giving you the shh
Right.
symbol. That's the secret, the one-eyed secret, right?
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because you see the character in the middle with his two hair colors. It's Millium, like millennium kind of, but Millium.
Okay.
He's doing a W with his hand.
Right.
You'll see that. That's the Tartarian W. You'll see it on a lot of Tartarian pictures.
Really?
Yes.
So what
Hence
does
why
that
it jumped
W
out at
mean?
me. So I know the Masons co-opted it, but since it's so ancient, I think it could be something from the Tartarians. Don't quote me on it. But even the Masons, you know, think that they go way back. So who knows, right?
Right.
And
he also had the crosses as a crown around his head.
Yeah. So there's that, right? That's a card game I really loved. Oh, sorry. I gotta go back in. I'm gonna show you one of the packs because when card games, I was really into card games. So a lot of my examples come from cards. Hence, I'm gonna be going into tarot later. I told you that.
Okay.
But they have art, but they commission all the art. I didn't show you the commissioner for this one, sorry. The commissioner you'll see is Nam666. Not suspicious at all. But the pack art for, I don't think it was that set. Oh my gosh, do I even have it? Heck, sorry. I named them all, but even after naming them, I still can't find it. Here it is. You'll see Feethsing, which is the elf here, also doing the one-eyed symbol.
Right.
And the sign of the beast, like the rock and roll, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Usually I'll confirm it as like an occult symbol if it's 2 and 1, at least. Although normally you want to be 3 to be sure, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so that's some interesting symbolism right off the bat with this card game.
Yes. And then I have a couple more cards in here because the story in the card game, Alice, is like super important. The main characters are called wanderers. They pass between worlds, right?
Okay.
As one world dies, they pass to the next. As one story ends, they skip through to the next story. Basically,
the wandering stars, the planets, the fallen angels, going around messing with each creation.
During the second cluster, Alice becomes I don't know if I can, come on now. It's a shiny card, unfortunately.
It is shiny.
Well, you almost had it. There we go.
All right, we can see her. We can see pretty good.
Well, the name of the card is Alice, Avatar of the Seven Lands. And in this form, she gets a new sword called Excalibur X. And she is an avatar of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Right?
Okay.
So in my theory, they're trying to produce not one avatar, but 2. You had the avatar theory earlier, if I remember correctly, right? They're producing the male and the female avatar, and the female avatar will be called Alice, who is produced through MK Ultra means, from what I can gather. And the male, who's in full control, will come through like enlightened bloodlines or whatever. I'm not quite sure.
So what happens with the females?
So it gets into like MK Ultra programming, right?
So she's like a sex kitten, and the male is the one that gets enlightened?
Not quite. They're trying to create, quote, the perfect daughter, right? To replace a goddess that died, in my theory.
Okay.
But it's like that, or it's just an avatar for him and his main consort, you know? Like,
right.
Because Apollyon is a hermaphrodite. So it would be splitting his anima and his animus into 2 instead of being just the one, you know?
Okay. So Apollyon is a hermaphrodite. So I heard that Hermes and Aphrodite actually make up the word hermaphrodite. So that's
correct.
Kind of how you get that. It's very interesting.
Hermes also carries the wing staff a lot, the Caduceus.
Yeah,
It has another name too. Yeah, Caduceus, and what was the other name for it? There's 2 of them.
Yeah, it's the serpent and the staff is.
Yeah, you know it, the medical symbol.
Yeah.
Which is actually a male symbol, the staff, and the female, the snake. You know.
Okay.
But it's also, when it has the 2 snakes are the male and female.
Right. Well, I have come into some evidence that is saying that maybe that the staff with 1 snake is representative of the serpent seed first inhabiting the human body, and then the one with 2 is now the first serpent has introduced another serpent into our universe, which would kind of be like the parasite that is here, that the ego is represented by, you know, the snake. The ego will let in something far worse in order to stay in control, and now like it's being controlled, so that the two snakes are representing two different things, that it isn't just one thing. So like two serpent seeds to create a
So-
whole new race. It's very strange.
Very funny you should mention the two serpents being separate entities. I'm going to go back into my little presentation here.
It's been a
so
ton
we
of
got-
synchronicities with your episodes so far, more
Yeah,
so than any
we
other
have-
episode.
The original never-ending story. And if you look around it, you have the two snakes, which is supposedly the symbol of the never-ending story. Like it's supposed to be on the cover.
That I talked
Right.
about earlier in the podcast.
Everything we talked about on Malcolm's podcast. Yeah. Yep.
But a really cool thing about the never-ending story, the first draft of it was written in red ink in reality and green ink in Fantasyland,
Chills.
right? Which is in alchemy, the
Christmas.
red and the green dragons. Yeah, exactly. Christmas or Santa. Ho, ho, ho. EO, EO, EO.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's that connection. I was prepared.
Wow, this is really, I mean, you don't know any of the stuff we talked about with Malcolm earlier, and like literally
No, I don't, which is why this has been super exciting for me, because I was hoping this would happen.
yeah, every 5 minutes it's been
This has been a whole lot of like, wow,
Yeah.
that we talked about that today, or that happened this morning, or I forgot to tell you about that.
yeah, a lot of synchronicities here. So obviously magic is real, and this is, we were meant to be in this time and space at this exact moment for
Like I
this
said,
exact
I thought
reason.
it was a calling. I really felt like I needed to talk to you. I usually don't talk to people because I'm really like a private person.
Well, I'm honored
I like to
to
keep to myself.
I'm honored to have
It
you
just
on the show.
proves that, you know, it's meant to be.
Right, and Mimi's on camera as well. First person she wasn't friends with that she's been on camera
Yep.
for. So,
Yep.
you know, this is a big step for her. So there's been a lot of moving and shaking to get us to this point in space and time. I see that God has
Been a fast forward of sorts.
he's moved pillars.
Yes.
He's tumbled some pillars in order to get us here. So, all right. So what is next on your presentation here? This is very interesting stuff.
Okay, so I'm gonna move a little bit into the tarot, but before I move off of Force of Will totally, I have one more card I wanted to show you. And it's called Dreams of Wonderland. Sorry. So if you notice, it's a girl falling. Remember when you're
Okay.
talking about the dreams falling?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you can read the flavor text, but in card games, the flavor text is how you tell a story. It says, "What I see and what you see are two completely different things. That is the mystery of this world." Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
Which ties into Alice Through the
Man.
Looking Glass, which I will get to later, I'm sure.
And Alice in Chains, is that
Correct.
okay? So yeah, go ahead. Where are we going with this? Are we talking about like
Alright.
band names and movie names, or all
So
just
I'll
telling
go
us
into
some
the
event?
bands
Do you have a timestamp
first.
for right now?
8:57?
Oh, like on the recording.
No, I don't. No, I
Alright.
don't.
I need it first. We'll see
It's
later.
about 41
You'll see.
minutes.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right. So have you heard of the Tavistock groups at all?
Yes, the Tavistock group. Yes.
Okay, so you'll know that was like teaching artists like the Beatles. I'm pretty sure came from the Tavistock group.
Okay.
There's a couple others, but the
Loved
Beatles is the
them.
one I wanted to show just because they're perfect symbolism on here. If you see, they got the OK,
Right.
the 666, and the sign of the beast,
Devil
and the yellow
horns.
submarine,
Okay.
which
What's that
happens to
mean?
be an alchemical symbol. So in alchemy and in occult views, the spiritual world is water, right? It's symbolized by water or the ocean.
Okay.
So, and yellow is the color of the sun. So it's the black and white, the sun and the moon. The dark side would be the water, right?
Okay.
At least that's how it was explained to me. I'm obviously kind of new to all this, but this also, we have Eyes Wide Shut, right? they don't also train musicians, they train anyone that's an artist, right?
Yeah.
Actors,
and
directors.
this fits in because of Pink Floyd, their Dark Side of the Moon album,
And the rainbow.
in the prism, if you bring it back into Ryan's M.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you want to hear a synchronicity with that didn't even make it to air because we talked for
Yeah.
2.5 hours after his second appearance? So I was wearing a Pink Floyd shirt the first time I heard him
I think I remember that too.
Yeah, so I was wearing it when I saw him on Conspiracy Castle, and so I tell him it afterwards, and he pulls up a video of the first time he presented it, he wore the same exact shirt the same Pink Floyd shirt that he wore it to present it to somebody, and that was something I wish I had for the recording, but we weren't recording.
That's crazy. And pink comes in as well later, because you remember how blue wasn't in our vocabulary for a long time.
Yes, yeah, only a couple hundred years
There's
old.
Another word that wasn't in our vocabulary that's a color, and it was pink.
Okay.
Both colors for babies, by the way. Very
Wow.
interesting.
Did they come about the same time?
That I'm not quite sure. I haven't researched pink as much as I've researched blue. It's just recently come to me. But speaking of synchronicities, prior to this, sorry, I'll tell you about that.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Prior to this, I have a friend that's super into like animals, and she was telling me about flamingos, which are an important alchemical symbol as well, because they're similar to the phoenix. There's one breed, the lowly flamingo, I think it's called, that has red eyes like fire.
Oh,
and it
wow.
lives in a boiling salt sea, basically, like a salt marsh.
Oh,
and that's
wow.
where they make their nests.
Very interesting.
And the creepiest thing, they have blood red milk. And the only other animals that have that are emperor penguins. What was the other one? Sorry, there's one more, but it's not. Oh, pigeons. It's a breed of pigeon.
Wow, penguins aren't even from this planet, they're saying.
Well, you've seen Ryan's videos on penguins in Antarctica, right?
Yeah, it's crazy stuff about their pineal glands. That's on WikiLeaks that they had 6 million pineal glands from penguins. That means they murdered 6 million penguins for their pineal glands, or not? Maybe not for that, but
that's a funny number for me. Sorry.
Yeah, $6 million man.
The 6 million certain other people that vanished mysteriously in a burned sacrifice.
But the Mayans you're talking about?
No, it was another.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, in Germany.
Yes, correct. That's the figure they throw around is 6 million.
That is correct.
I want to hear a little bit about the color blue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we were talking about the blue, that stuff for the glasses, remember?
Oh yeah, the dicynine.
Yeah.
All
right. So for blue, there's two things that I know that were interesting, I would say to you, especially since you mentioned glasses. One would be blue light healing. There was like blue light healing centers way back in like 1800s before they got shut down for being pseudoscience.
Yeah.
But it was like entire houses of blue stained glass. It was supposed to heal along with frequency. But
wow. Are these the crystal palaces?
One of them, I'm sure. Although there's another channel, I don't know if you know, Autodidactic.
Yes.
They do a lot of hunts for the crystal palaces. The Wizard of Oz hunt, I like to call it. But no, it doesn't get into the crystal palaces. Those are a lot earlier, I think.
Okay.
I'll give a brief breakdown. Essentially, what I think is where like there was the Gold Age, there was the silver, bronze, and then the iron and clay, just like in Daniel's vision, right? Or not Daniel's vision. He was the dream he interpreted in the book of Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if we're still in the Bronze Age, because if you look at bronze, it doesn't rust, but it oxidizes, and it's called verdigris, and it's a green looking rust. It's very interesting. So as bronze ages, the green, which would be the unnatural color in alchemy, like for the unnatural, leaks through. So that sounds like the end times to me, right?
Okay.
But that goes into like the theory of you know, the third impact, I think was what I was gonna say. That goes into anime a lot. I don't know if I have much examples for that. Sorry, I need to close out of it. But like I was saying, for artists, for music artists, for movie makers, anime as well has been infected, I would call it. Specifically, I had some examples. I know this one is from One Piece, the compasses here. If you remember, John Dee had a special kind of compass that worked like a GPS.
Yes, I've heard of this.
And they only use these compasses when they go to the new world. But
was this because they were going around the? Were they coming from another place? On this, if we're in a crater, you know, a larger crater Earth, is that what that means? That they came to a new world, that they had to use something that would tell them more than just our magnetic north?
so not necessarily. The new world has had multiple meanings, like everything, because as time goes on, it changes, you know.
Okay.
If you know, they call America the new world,
Right.
right? I theorize that's because when the Tartarians fled, they passed over into the new world, America, right?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure something to put up on the screen. But it's also meant like New World Order, which I'll pull up the card again, I guess.
Right, and this gets into what's on our dollar bill, says New World Order.
Yes, I saw that you just put that up, and I'm like, man, I wish I had. I think I have $1 here, because I know all that too. But did he show you the owl?
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
Daniel, you're talking about Daniel from End of Days Radio.
I wasn't sure who it was with. I just saw it was
Yeah.
on the symbolism in the dollar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We go over that. Yeah. Minerva, or what's it?
Minerva.
Minerva. Yeah.
Well, technically, they're all different names for the same entities, I'm thinking, you know.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on who that is? Because he had a thought that I didn't hear of before, but it resonated with me.
So Minerva is the same entity as Athena, as Inanna, as it would be the second entity. Freya would be like, there's the first motherly entity that's would be like Frigg in Norse mythology. In Roman, I forget, I think it's Juno in Roman is the first one.
Yeah, the name that he said to me was Lilith.
Yeah, I think it would be Lilith, because Lilith came
Screeching
first.
Owl. Yeah.
Yeah. The owl is also associated with Athena, though. Athena's owl.
Oh, okay.
Which Athena, the story of Athena, she descends into the underworld, right?
Okay.
It's the death and rebirth. Here, since we're talking about Athena, I'm going to get into my tarot deck. Because the tarot, supposedly, is the grail, right? It's the grail journey.
Okay.
Spiritual perfection in a card game. Sorry, I don't know how I'm gonna shuffle through these exactly, but I got a fancy deck. Just remind me where we were.
You were talking about Athena, and you were gonna
The owl. Athena. Oh yeah. So the story of Athena, she goes through spiritual mastery. So she starts her journey as the fool. She learns some secrets, becomes the magician, attains mastery as the priestess, further solidifies her conquering as the empress, etc., etc. It goes on through. It's not just Athena's story, but Athena was adapted to fit into the story necessarily, you know. But eventually it gets to, I'm looking for the hangman. 7.
Just the upside down hangman, making the number 4 with the feet.
Correct. I always forget what number he is. I'm still pretty new to this. Here we got the hangman. Which, funny story, when I was a child, I used to sleep like this.
Oh,
And
wow.
I have probably a genetic condition called Lynch disease, which is very funny to me. But sorry, the hanged man, if you remember the story of Odin as well, when he
Okay,
dies and
yeah.
hangs upside down to learn the secret of the runes.
Yeah.
But the 12 is the midpoint, roughly, of the tarot as well, you know? So it's like right after completing the enlightenment, you start the new journey, and you have to die to start it. Following justice.
Wow.
In the end, it ends up the world, which I would
21.
theorize symbolizes that Athena, in her state now, is the one currently running the world, which would be, if the hermaphrodite theory exists in reality, it would not only be Athena, it would be Mars or Ares, her male equivalent as well. Heracles, them.
Okay, so we're not too far from Athens, Georgia. There's an Athens, Greece. Are these named after Athena?
Memphis. There's Memphis, Egypt. There's also Memphis, Tennessee. They do a lot of that naming stuff.
Right.
Like naming new things from old stuff. You'll remember New York, right?
Right.
Which is actually super interesting because it gets back into the Lovecraft connection. Because according to Simon's Necronomicon and his other book, Dead Names, which is actually super hard to find, by the way, the Cthulhu cult, as it's still in existence today, started in London and Afghanistan, in the two like orders, like the Golden Age and then the Silver Age, and then, you know,
Okay.
before they got erased. Those are like the two big metropolises that he has in there. Because much like our civilization, I would think the reverse civilization, the moon deities, would also have cities and stuff, you know?
So do you think that you can actually go to the moon?
That gets into my Square Enix part of my presentation for video games.
Okay.
So Square Enix, Square, that's a Masonic thing, you know? But going into it a little more, we have the red triangle, which according to this Masonic person up here, is what Hitler marked the Freemasons as during the unmentionable times.
Yeah,
but
he
the
was
original
throwing
logo,
them. He threw them out, right?
yeah.
And that's what kicked
I
off
think a
the
lot of
events of
this,
where he started losing.
Yep, that's exactly when he started losing. But I think a lot of this is like invisible vying for power, like people betray other people and then get forsaken by the rest of them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that a lot, especially with the musicians like Chris Cornell, the Alice in Chains artist, what's his name? The Stone Temple Pilot guy. But all of them are like in the same group that were like hanging out together, and some accidents befell them.
You mean the guy from Lincoln Park? Chester?
Yeah, him too, Chester Bennington.
Yeah, they were making a movie together. You know, him and Chris Cornell, I think, was his godfather or something to that effect. He was a close family friend. They were making a movie about Haiti, something about children in Haiti, or something to that effect.
Oh, I don't think I saved it.
Do you know what I think the red scarf symbolism is when they hang themselves from a doorknob with the red scarf? I've come to believe that is the calling card of the Knights Templar, which are the military branch for the Masons, which operate under the Methodist Church, with the red flag going from the side of the cross to the bottom, like a serpent. That it's the Knights of Templar are the military branch.
The flame.
I could see
flame.
that.
The flame at the flag.
One of their symbols that they use frequently is a red V. I don't know if it's on this one.
Okay.
No, it's not. But it's the Roman numeral 5, right? Like you'll see it in
Right.
V for Vendetta.
Yes.
Venom.
Venom, yeah. There's a lot of them. NASA has it in its logo. The red swoosh.
The
the
split
Nike
tongue.
logo.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, the symbolism, it's there. It's everywhere amongst
It is
all of the major
everywhere.
places.
oh yeah, I was getting into Trump, right? So we have Trump isn't necessarily in a Masonic order that I know of, but I do know he's in this, which is Plus Ultra or Plus Ultra.
Okay.
See that embedded into the roof there too.
Right.
Which, in my theory, and a certain, I think it's a movie they produce. I wouldn't really call it a movie. It was more indoctrination footage. But they said the Illuminati, I don't know what to call it, not recruiter, the person who leaked the video said it's what they believe. But they have two sides. They have the Illuminati, which follow the sun or the black sun, Apollo, and they have the moon, the luminary or lunari, I'm not sure, that follow the moon goddesses or the moon side. And they're vying for power. So my theory is that Plus Ultra is the side that Mr. Hitler tried to join at the end of the war there, that caused his downfall. And we'll see, let me see my Trump picture. This is at Trump's inauguration.
Yeah, there you go.
You'll see on the left there in the tiles behind him.
Oh,
wow.
So what
so
is
I don't
the Plus
necessarily
Ultra?
trust him either. So it literally means to go beyond. And if this is another anime connection for all you nerds out there, the anime My Hero Academia, their motto is Plus Ultra. But it's also the motto of the Spanish royalty, I want to say. But essentially it means going beyond the pillars of Hercules through the known world into the unknown world. Because supposedly the pillars of Hercules are at the gateway to the next world, which would be where Hitler's breakaway civilization is at.
Yeah, through the Looking Glass. Yeah, this Space Force, this hyperspace.
Kind of, yes. Looking Glass, I think, also has to go with mirrors, because specifically in Alice in Wonderland, through the Looking Glass, she walks through a mirror.
Trump is oh man, this is the secret space program, man. He is so yeah.
Oh, another Trump connection. I don't know if you've heard of Baron von Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll still pull it up for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, the books with with the time traveling. He's definitely a time traveler. That's why the mafia bosses, they're called Dons. He went back in time and switched it to that. That's why the Trump card's called the Trump card, and it's in his honor. You know.
But my favorite part of this, his name is Ingersoll Lockwood, which is fire, sun, Lockwood, locking the wood. One of the things they call the dream world is the wood, the dark forest, you know, which in NASA symbolism, the dark forest theory, what if there's something out there so scary that if we make any noise, it'll come and kill us?
Well, and you know about the Trump Ingersoll pocket watch?
I do not, actually.
Yeah, there's a pocket watch, and if you were time traveling, you know, you would need something mechanical, local to you. So what else would you have to know how much time you had left, but a pocket watch. Old
And
school.
I'm sure you
pocket watch.
saw my hold on a second. My background here. I got the clock.
Okay.
It's technically called an horloge. It's a replica of the one in Prague, one of the two that I know of.
So is this a flat
Uh,
Earth map?
I don't think the map itself is, but I am a flat earther. If
It looks like it. If you keep it up there for a second, if you
Oh,
can go
sorry.
back to it. No, it's okay. Can you see my mouse on the screen?
No, sorry, I'm locked into one screen.
Oh, okay. No worries.
What was the picture again? Sorry.
It was your background.
Oh, that's why. Okay. I have another picture of a different astrological.
Okay, there we go. So
astrological clock.
So
as
you
well.
see the star and the black sun and the sun. I guess this is the moon.
Also notice the hours on the outside going to 24 instead. It's a military time, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And then we got the Roman numerals on the inside as well.
So a lot of Crater Earth people think like we're in here and this whole thing is moving over here, and that there's a much larger part of the Earth that's in the middle. That that's what the ice wall is. Our sun only reaches that little part.
I don't necessarily subscribe to Crater Earth. I don't know what it is. I think it's more complicated than just a crater. if I'm being honest, especially when you start researching Antarctica, right?
Okay.
Because normal logic doesn't work like that for the poles, right? Like, according to the flat Earth, you have the ice ring all the way around, right? But on the inside would be the positive, of the torus. So it would be quite literally where the eye is, you know, in the center of the universe to us.
Yeah, I saw something like that. I think that was on the podcast I watched this morning. The hole in Antarctica. Alleged hole.
Where is this?
I'm not quite sure where it is, but I just saw this as like a flat Earth example I would have to bring in. I know it's in like one of the underground dumbs that they have. I'm pretty sure, or it's one of their secret subway systems.
It's like the Denver airport.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, and getting into the compass again, this is another one from a different anime, where they descend into the abyss and it guides them. Which, when you travel to Antarctica, you need a compass that never loses magnetic north, because when you approach magnetic north, you would lose control of your compass, you know?
I do remember Ryan saying that.
In this anime, One Piece, while they're in the New World, they have to use these compasses for the exact same reason.
Yeah, because it's probably has to be, you know, 3 of them. It probably they all point to one direction once they get there. Yeah. So outside of it, it'll point to different magnetic points, but then once you're inside of it, it'll point to the same point, something to that effect.
It's like a North Star.
They probably all the compasses probably come from another world, essentially. It's calibrated.
It would
to
be my
another
guess,
world.
or they were made using magic that doesn't, work anymore. Because in my theory, whatever caused Satan to be loosed back into the world, and I think the Carrington event, the burning of the world, right, the vitrification, I think that would be. Sorry.
Do you think the Carrington event caused the mud floods?
Not necessarily. So you'll see around star forts a lot crater lakes, which in my theory is evidence of a nuclear detonation, but specifically was a neutrino bomb, something. It doesn't destroy a lot, but it atomizes atoms, if I remember correctly. But it would cause the soil liquefaction as well. But it would leave one small crater everywhere that it happened at, which would be a lake.
Wow.
And my theory for that goes back into video games and Ryan Zem. He was making a World of Warcraft clone, if you remember correctly, right?
Right.
In World of Warcraft, in Stratholme, there's a secret area which is very hard to get to, but the only thing in it is a single lake that looks like a crater lake next to a zombie city.
Wow. Wait, so did you see my post earlier today?
I'm
You
not
don't.
sure.
I
Was
was.
it a
You
community
only
post?
follow me on YouTube, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this was on Instagram and Facebook, and what you're talking about, the Carrington event. This is something I talked about earlier, that the second end of the world has already occurred. I've talked about
I
it on
do
my
think
podcast
that.
before, but I put out a big post this morning. So yeah, go ahead, speak on that if you.
So if you delve into Indian mythology, a lot of them have the similar myth of everyone passed on and we were the ones that survived to get left in hell. Right?
So when
Like
you
something
say
crazy
Indian,
happened.
are you talking Native American or India?
You would call them Red Indians, but in this they're the same, right? So when the Tartarians migrated from the east, India, they came to the New World. They were the original inhabitants of the New World, essentially, because the Columbus and his Masonic expedition came in afterwards to help clear them out after the event. Whatever happened, that wiped them off.
So people from India were Tartarians, and they went to the New World, and that's why they called them Indians, because they were literally the descendants from India.
Yes, correct.
Whoa.
They also called them Red
Imagine
Indians
that.
because they used to cover themselves in red ochre, I think, or like a red pigment, much like the Mayans. And there's one more on the Europe side that do it, but it's like all these cultures have the red pigment smearing on themselves, but the Red Indians specifically are different because they were like a mystic sect of Indians, if I remember correctly. And that's why they have the Masonic Order of the Red Indians, or the Red Men, or something like that.
And so, okay, then we have the Washington Redskins football team.
Yep.
Okay, so wow. So this is Mimi has her chill alert is on like super high. She's getting the
you can't
goosebumps like
see,
crazy.
but yeah.
So hold on, I just lost it.
It's been like every 5 minutes.
So
like,
so an Indian.
Sorry. It's been a lot to collate in my head as well. Like,
yeah, no, this is great.
I never got into it. I meant to, but when my conversion, when I went back to Christ, was my 25th birthday, which is 7/13/1996, which is 7. It's an occult number. 13, the divine feminine and death, and then 19 can be a 10, the 10, and then the 96 is also 69, which is the one before 70, which is the same as 7. But I have
hold on.
The number part of it is like whatever.
Didn't we just talk to Malcolm about 7 times 7 is 49? It's going to be his 49th birthday, so he's completing 7.
And we talked about episode 69 of my
If you want a scary
and his
in
birthday
this
was 8/13.
What?
Oh, hold on, wait. Before we get off, because we were talking about the second end of the World War. I remember not World War, second end of the world. What I wanted to say was that they're in Indian lore. When you were just talking about that, they talk about a war in the heavens, in the skies above them, and they talk about a nuclear war that they're describing, and a lot of people take that as nuclear war or aliens, but this is could be a real event that happened 200 to 300 years ago.
Yeah, I do think so. At least I have a similar picture here. I took it out of the presentation folder that I initially had because I didn't think we'd get to it, but
no, that what they were talking about was Jesus's his return, I believe, with his army of 10,000. That's what the recorded history is of that war that took place in the heavens in like 70 AD, I guess, something around there.
Yeah, it's definitely very possible, especially when you start researching the hidden years, the time we lost. Which speaking of that card game I was telling you about earlier, Force Will.
Yes.
They have an expansion. It was the end of their first expansion called the Grim Cluster, called the Millennia of Ages, or in Japanese, the past and future of 1,000 years, which if you think about the J turning into an I, we lost 1,000 years, right?
Right.
But essentially what happens in the Millennium of Ages is everyone forgets who they are and their story gets rewritten with false memories.
Interesting.
And then this is that war in the heaven thing I was talking about. I think this is in Germany, but I'm not positive.
So is this a depiction of it?
Yeah, an artist rendition of what they saw that day. There's a lot of mythology for like wars in the heavens, is including in like Hindu mythology. They have like basic nukes in Hindu mythology.
Right, that's what I was just referring to. Yeah, so these look like the Foo Fighters that are talked about in World War II. They talked about Foo Fighters that were little balls, orbs of energy flying around everybody.
I would agree with that as well.
Man, we barely dug in here and we're already, nearing an hour and a half. This is an incredible show so far.
Well, thank you. I wasn't sure we would get too far. It's definitely like 4 months worth of information. Like, if you all follow when I converted, it was only 4 months ago, right?
Wow.
So all of this information is coming to me directly from just insight, through inspiration, I would call it. There's aspiration and respiration, right? The respiration, or the breathing in, inspiration of the Holy Spirit,
right?
Which I think is the true root meaning of inspiration. You're in spirit, you're inspirited.
Okay, I like that.
Oh, and here's the other astro clock I was talking about.
Okay, that's interesting.
But it ties in with the 12 hours, which our timetable here is 12 hours and then 12 hours.
Right.
But it's like the zodiac would be the first 12 hours, or the 12 tribes I've seen as well represented. But the middle is what are the Hanukkah candles? What they're called in Jewish.
Shoot.
Yeah, I forget. I was just on the tip of my
How
tongue.
do I forget this? I should know this.
Yeah, maybe you should know this.
I should know this. It's right there.
The something.
Oh my goodness, I know this.
At least I'm not the only one.
She's looking it up now, but
the 7 candles, they're the
menorah.
7 churches of Asia.
I knew
menorah,
this.
there we go.
Yeah, I know it was aura. I forgot the first part of it.
Whoopsie, sorry. That's what nerves do.
Yeah, right. They're symbolically the 7 churches of Asia in the Revelations chapter.
Right.
Which, again, I said the Tartarians came from Asia, right? If you're following that theory. So initially,
Turkey
would be, which is Middle Asia or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like above Egypt, I think.
Yeah,
I'm not positive. There's a lot of Tartarians. So when Brian Zen was doing his stuff, I visited Roswell first off, alien town, right?
Okay, how was that?
It was interesting to say the least. They had a plague of cockroaches the day that I went there, and I'm not kidding you. There was so many cockroaches. It was so disgusting. Like literally biblical hordes of cockroaches carpeting the floors. But one of the places we visited was right next to a Mason Hall, but across from it was a bookshop, or it was an antique shop, and it was like Stardust, antiques, and artifacts. And I'm like, I gotta go in there, right? But the thing I found in there was Marco Polo's book, The Travels of Marco Polo.
Oh wow!
Read that at all?
I've heard about. Ryan's broke it down a little bit on his.
Yeah, and I have a comment on it. Like literally, as soon as he covered it, I found that book that day.
Wow.
And it goes through all of his journeys through Tartary, through the Tartarian kings, like the lineage of the Khans. Because he was essentially sent by the Khans to document. He was like the only one that they had document. Because of the ancient civilizations, I know the Scythians, which would be the descendants of the Chaldeans, never kept anything. That's why we call them the Vikings nowadays. They don't keep any lore. Which is the 6 kings, by the way, the VI kings. I got that little bit of download from Forcible as well. They have the 6 sages in the Valhalla cluster.
The Scythians, the 6 kings, the VI kings. The Scythians. That makes so much sense.
But they're also supposedly related to the Gauls and the Celts as well. Like there was a split there at some point.
Yeah, and the Danu tribe. Are you familiar with Danu Naki Dan and the Rising of the Ashes podcast?
I don't think so, no. I'm pretty isolated. I try not to keep on the algorithm very much.
Okay. Well, he was episode 72 of mine, the beginners.
Oh, yeah. I think I commented on it. I just started it.
Okay, yeah. So he does a lot of what you're talking about, the Scythians and the Danu tribe and going up to with the Celts, and he talks a lot about that type of stuff.
And we also have the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Did you know there was a rune stone found in Minnesota as well?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there's also the rumors that the Vikings were in Canada, but it was called something else, like Newfoundland or something.
Wow. Is the NFL just like all these different cities? Are they different spots like Tartarian names, or is this like a battlefield like for talking about literal Tartarians, and they're making players, face up against each other, the Eagle tribe versus the Falcon tribe, that type of thing?
Well, technically, in my opinion, they're both on the wrong side, right? They're not of Christ. They're following other deities. It would be the eagles and the worms, and the serpents, the dragons and the phoenixes, quote unquote.
Oh, so the birds versus, and then you got the people groups, the Vikings, you got the Redskins, you got
Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Cowboys and Indians.
There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Oh yeah.
There's fish gods, you got the dolphins, just all types of weird shit.
Pirates.
Like my biggest thing coming on here is to just show people like even the dumbest connections, even the craziest connections you wouldn't think would be anything mean
but
something.
They are. Yeah,
there's no such thing as coincidences.
I was just telling Mimi this other night, she was having a hard time understanding how every logo that anyone picks, she's like, but they can't all be. And I said, even if it's the most innocent person, they're being influenced by an energy behind it. Like there's no thought that anyone has is by accident. It's put there by someone or something that, if it can be God or it can be something else. So that's what it breaks down to.
And they used to personify it for us in our children's movies. The little angel on your shoulder, little demon on your shoulder, the 2 voices in your head
that are talking to you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It gets a lot deeper than that.
Logo based on one of those?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just subconsciously, I guess.
Yeah, because unless you're aware of your thoughts, unless you're aware of your thoughts, then you can discard them rather easily. You're like, no, I don't want to do that. But if you're just someone who just does whatever they think, then you're going to pick, what the other side wants you to pick rather than what God wants you to pick.
Exactly. And that gets into the Gnosticism thing, right? Because when you're researching Gnosticism, you're right there, because the essential part of it is connection directly, right? So in my case, I was still trying to approach Jesus rather than they would call Sophia or any of the other Gnostic sects top goddesses or whatever. But that's why it's like so intoxicating for a lot of people, the wisdom that comes from it.
Okay. Hey, so let me hit you with this last question. You brought up Sophia, because
that's where I was gonna go to.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier and with Malcolm. That Sophia. So the word Sophia is Greek for the Hebrew word wisdom. So when we get the translation, it means the same thing, and they always refer to the word wisdom as a she or a her. This is what in episode 69, Taylor Ann, she went over this. So she was telling me, Sophia comes to her in the same way not in the same way.
Right.
She accepts Jesus as Lord and Savior, but that Sophia is still like a part of that somehow, and that there's a Sophia Christos type of energy. And so
Right, and she's mentioned in the Bible as, the word wisdom.
right. So what's your take on Sophia from your understanding?
In the Necronomicon, we have the stars, the gods of the stars are 7, right? And they have 7 seals. Same echo as the candelabra, menorah, the 7 churches of Asia in Revelations. I think I have it pulled open, but I got like a bunch of bookmarks. But essentially, they're the deities that run the business. They're the emanations, the reproductions of the original god or prince Metatron, right? So they would be his angels or his programs that he has acting on the world. And since they're set in the heavens as the planets, right? They would still hold sway over us, just because that's how the realm works. And specifically, Sophia would be representing Venus, because Sophia, if I'm recalling correctly, also dies and like gains enlightenment in the same way, the same story.
Okay.
And is rebirthed and has like a dark evil sister, just like Venus did. Or in the Mesopotamian story, it's Ereshkigal and Inanna, I think.
Okay. So what's your is Sophia good?
It's a real character, but I wouldn't worship them. Like in Acts, right? The apostles all say, "Don't worship me. I'm just a brother of Christ as you are." Right? Same thing when an angel comes down. Don't worship me. Worship the Lord Most High.
Okay. That's a perfect answer right there, because that's how Malcolm was referring to it too. He was saying that Sophia is just like this energy. Maybe Taylor was more hands-on with Sophia, but still saying Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, died for our sins, but she was comforted by this warm womanly presence when at different times when she was upset. So what you're saying kind of fits both of what I have heard about this so far.
Yeah, and interestingly as well, in the Necronomicon mythos, Inanna, the third one, she also is the only one that acts differently than the others and claims people for her own. And after that happens, you're like not allowed to marry anyone else. But it's very much the like divine feminine, right? The pure lover essence version of the feminine.
Okay.
Which also is wisdom. But it would be symbolic of the divine wisdom, I guess, the love,
Right. Okay.
And it is Sophia in the Bible as well. Like wisdom is just Sophia from what I've read.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. So I think we're gonna stop it here, but you're gonna have to come back again, because I mean we were all over the place, but it was a beautiful conversation. You had a lot of different things to show us.
Tons of synchronicities.
Yeah, so many
today.
synchronicities, just a ridiculous amount.
That shows I'm doing the right thing.
Yes, very much so. That we're aligning on a lot of different things. Is there any other things you wanted to ask real quick before?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anything?
Sorry to overwhelm
you. Have something else to say to me?
Well, is there any?
I guess thank you for reassuring me. Showing yourself as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on screen for you.
Yes. Is there any other brief little things that you wanted to say to the audience before we left? And do you want them to find you anywhere?
Definitely not. Although the ones that want to find me, I'm sure will.
Definitely not, he said.
Yeah.
Don't come find me. Don't come talk.
Yeah,
to me.
please
find
don't.
him in the
That's
YouTube
scary.
comments, maybe.
Yeah, if you recognize
definitely.
the name. But I guess the only thing that I really wanted to say, the main thing I came on here is to like tell people they can do this too. It's really easy to just see and make connections with symbols. and eventually you start to figure out their whole plan. So, and it's something you can do if you're not feeling good that day. Just watch a movie. Like, I didn't get into it today, but Hideo Kojima, video game auteur, makes the Metal Gear Solid series. He specifically says his all his inspiration comes from movies. And why do you think that is?
Symbolism. They're subconsciously placing, as we call predictive programming, or just placing thoughts in your mind.
He also has the one-eyed symbolism with every snake emanation eventually loses an eye. You know, the solid snake loses an eye, naked loses an eye, and then the other one, Solidus, I think, loses his eye as well. But he also calls in Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain, the main character V. When they say he wakes up, it says V has come to. So he's definitely deep in there as well. And there was other things that I had to show, like the BBC end card in there. I don't know if you saw the BBC title card in my files.
I don't remember.
Oh, we were flipping through to flip through. I got you.
Yeah. It also, when we get into the BBC title card, it'll get into the clowns and the Nephilim, the through the looking glass, the color green, and why it's so important to chroma keying.
Okay, so next time, and Omicron,
every time you come
right
on,
now.
we'll talk about a different color.
No, so next time we definitely gotta cover what you're just talking about, the BBC and the clowns and the Nephilim, and we gotta cover the possibility that the world has ended for the second time, as the Bible claimed, through the destruction of fire. That
I do think it actually specifically mentions it in Revelations, but I'll get to that when we get back.
Yeah,
when we get to it.
Yeah,
that's
we'll cover,
a big win.
Yeah, and the Millennial Kingdom, we could definitely get into that as well. If you're up on that, we could definitely have a great convo on that. So,
well, I did have
like
a
I
question.
said, I'm learning, so
okay,
go ahead.
I wanted to know if there's any story behind the sword and bow behind you, or that was behind you.
Something kind of innocuous, but I'm ready for war. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we can see, my friend. It was a great time meeting you. This was an excellent conversation. Like I said, we'll have to set this up again fairly soon to get a part 2 in here, because we have so much more we could cover.
Yeah, hopefully soon, but like I said, my life's been pretty crazy lately.
Yeah,
I'll elaborate a little bit more afterwards, but man, it's been all nuts.
All right,
and that's all, folks. No,
no worries. All right, well, don't find our guest, but just leave a comment.
Just watch him here exclusively on the Goodness Over
you got
Darkness
an exclusive,
podcast.
all this crazy information from someone who's got a mad scientist haircut.
Well, make sure you guys are beating the algorithms out there, and hitting comments and hitting the like button, and send in your love.
Yeah, please do. It helps more people find the message.
That's right. And look up Ryan Zim as well, because
please. Everything he
does
does
a lot of
is
great work.
I started with.
Yeah.
And if I can learn all this in 4 months, imagine what someone who's smarter than me can do,
Yeah. Well, don't put yourself down. Don't sell yourself short. You can see the brilliance in you.
No, thank you. I try to shine bright. What is it, a lamp up on a hill?
You have a lot of knowledge in there.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. We will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.